Yeah, Bill Clinton has a new book that's coming out. I believe it's out. It came out yesterday, so go grab it in stores. Who would want to read a
Do
book?
not do that.
Yes.
All right.
But in the book, Jeffrey Epstein comes up. And for the first time, Bill Clinton acknowledges his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. In the book, Clinton admits to flying on Epstein's plane known as the Lolita Express in 2002 and 2003 for the Clinton Global Initiative, something we all knew already. Clinton flew on Epstein's private jet at least 26 flights, for at least 26 times according to the flight logs. These trips were reportedly connected to the Clinton Foundation work and included staff, Secret Service agents, and others. However, not all flights were direct encounters with Epstein. Clinton, in the book, admits to 2 times that he met Jeffrey Epstein. But first, before we get into all that, let's play this clip. Well, I have a few clips that I want to show you guys, and then we'll get into the Jeffrey Epstein-Bill Clinton connection. But here's Kevin Spacey. This is earlier this year. Kevin Spacey was on Piers Morgan, where he talks about being on the private jet of Jeffrey Epstein with Bill Clinton and Chris Tucker as they made trips on behalf of the Clinton Global Initiative to Africa back in the early 2000s. Kelly, could we play this clip?
In 2015, I started seeing reports online, things on my Twitter account that I had flown to this guy Jeffrey Epstein's island and I had abused young girls. And I was like, I mean, if you'd asked me in 2015, maybe even if you'd asked me in 2002, did I know a guy named Jeffrey Epstein? I probably would have said no. Well, of course, I have since learned who he is.
Oh, his acting.
And I have since been able to go back and find out that the airplane that we flew on for this humanitarian mission was owned by Jeffrey Epstein. Weird. And to then learn, oh, he was actually on some of those flights. And this Maxwell woman was on some of those flights. I didn't know him. I've never spent any time with him. I was with the Clinton Foundation people. That's who I was with. Now, what I understand is that he didn't start to be investigated until 2005 by authorities in Florida. So here's what I can tell you. This Maxwell woman, she was one of many people who sat down next to me in that throne room. I have no relationship with her. I had no relationship with him. I mean, he's not my friend. I'm not a confidant. I've never spent time with him. And interestingly, I will say this. I was very fortunate that President Clinton introduced me a lot of business leaders in London because he knew I was coming to the Old Vic.
So,
and I developed relationships with
can I say
Robert
something?
Earl, Hulu Ladobovich, Robert Earl, a lot of wonderful people, Sir Richard Caring, people who supported the work that we did at the Old Vic and gave money to us. Do you know who I never asked for anything? Was Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't want to be around this guy because I felt he put the president at risk on that trip to South Africa because there were these young girls.
What the hell is he talking about?
And we were like, who is this guy? So I will say this.
There were young girls on those flights.
There were young girls on those flights, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, boy.
But in that clip, he talks about not knowing who Jeffrey Epstein is and had no idea who the person was. But then in the same clip, he talks about not wanting to ask Jeffrey Epstein for money at any point because he puts the president at risk because of his actions during the trip in which there were young girls on the plane.
He contradicted
That
himself.
was crazy.
He contradicted himself so much. And I don't know if you guys know this or not. If you own a plane, Ryan, you own a plane, okay? It's your jet and you guys are flying to wherever. And Kevin Spacey is on that. You're going to meet him. He's going to meet you.
I was thinking the same thing. Everyone here flown private. You
have
know
to
when
talk-
you're in a private plane.
I've never flown private in my entire life.
I feel
but I
sorry
would
for you.
imagine that
But-
it's a
but
small enough
it's
plane
a
that you
small
know which
enough
of the
plane.
Well,
20
not this one. All right, so the Lolita Express was a Boeing 727-200 that usually seats around 200 passengers. That being said, I 100% agree with you that if you're on a plane that's a private jet belonging to someone and you know that the owner of the private jet is on the jet, you would at least if I'm a person that's nice, I go up and go, thank you so much for allowing me to be on this
For
jet.
sure. And by the way, it's Kevin Spacey, one of the greatest actors in the history of the world.
Probably the greatest.
One of the dude.
Piece of shit,
top
but the
10.
greatest actor.
He's-
What's
what do you mean?
amazing, what's interesting is that he mentioned, like, there were accusations of me and young girls. I'm not saying this as a slight. We all know that he's gay. It's a very weird, that's a way of him to dissociate himself from the accusations and his knowledge. Oh, the
I like
accusations of me
young
with
boys.
girls. Everybody knows that I'm into boys. But pull up this. I'm going to do some, like, real-time sleuthing. he says he didn't know who Ghislaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein is. This is from an article from 2020, and I get the context of them, but they clearly know each other.
Oh, Ryan.
That's what he was talking about in the video. He was saying that 1,000 different people sat down next to him. 1,000 different people sat down next to him. So
I'm
to
pretty
take photo ops with him. So I don't blame him for not knowing who Joe Schmo sat down next to him.
Ryan, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You've been around and you've experienced and you've seen these people firsthand that are doing stuff with young children, young girls, whatever. Just seeing him, if you like talking to him, because you watched that whole clip and I saw you, like you looked like a little bit bothered. Is that the type of person that fits the profile in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe there's a perfect profile to these people.
Yeah.
Because I think they come in all shapes and sizes, and a lot of times it's the last person you'd expect. And,
Yeah.
You know, so it just, I guess the way that, and I don't know anything about that guy. I'm just going off of my first impression of watching that video. Obviously, it seemed to contradict itself. The body language appeared that he was lying.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I don't know enough about it to make like a, you know, I can just give you my opinion, and I think the guy knew exactly what he was doing. He's on an airplane. He's in a picture with the person. He knew there were young girls on the plane. He talked about taking money from the guy, or not taking money from the guy.
Knowing not only who he is, but what he does in life. The picture that I sent Kelly that we just saw is from an article in 2020 where it says Ghislaine Maxwell sits on Queen's throne with Kevin Spacey after Prince Andrew invite. You got confirmed. I'm going to say, I just don't want to get anybody else's channel in trouble. I say these words on my channel, and I don't care about it. But those are three of the biggest names in
that world,
in the
in the
child
child
sex
world.
trafficking ring. And he comes out and says body language was through the roof. Like he thinks he's got a
And he's
little
an actor.
nervous tick. He's got a little Kevin Spacey, a little protesting too much.
Yeah.
And no, it's filth.
Go ahead, Rob.
Not the only person, Kevin Spacey, to implicate Bill Clinton in being on the Lolita Express with underage girls. Here is a clip from Amy Robach. This was released by a Project Veritas. Amy Robach at the time was one of the hosts of Good Morning America. She was on a live, she had a live mic, but the camera was not on her. I guess the camera was on her, but the shot was not on her. And this was recorded offline, and somehow Project Veritas obtained this footage and released it. This wasn't seen to the general public until Project Veritas released it. But in this clip, Amy Robach also implicates Bill Clinton in, having a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and underage girls. Kelly, if we could play the clip.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything.
That's off air?
I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying, there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
What I love in a cynical way is that what pisses her off the most is not that it happened, but that she had the
didn't break
breaking
the story,
and wasn't allowed to do it.
She wasn't allowed.
The ego element, or the the news breaking element of it.
How about the children that could have that information getting out could have prevented from being harmed by
For
Jeffrey
3
Epstein
years.
and his weirdo associates.
So going back to one of our initial points is the protection level of these people goes all the way to the top, bro. To presidents, to princes. And I remember when the Prince Andrew thing happened, you know what the Queen, when she was still alive, what her punishment was to him?
No more press conferences.
No royal duties. You can't speak in front of a camera. Time out. He was with an underage girl, potentially more, and his only punishment is, hey, you can't be in front of a camera, Prince Andrew.
And he also was photographed with Jeffrey Epstein in New York City in Central Park after Jeffrey Epstein's 2005 conviction. So Prince Andrew knew that Jeffrey Epstein was convicted for sexually trafficking young girls in 2005 and continued that relationship with him. Kelly, could we go to the slide of the New York Post story? It's supposed to be the last one, but I want to jump it up here, and then we'll go backwards. So they mentioned Virginia Giuffre Roberts in that clip Amy Robach did. This is an article. Yes, there it is.
Who showed the article?
Jeffrey Epstein. This is from the New York Post. This is from 2020. Jeffrey Epstein hosted Bill Clinton on his private island, documents reveal. Now, according to a 2011 deposition, the same woman that Amy Robach was just talking about in that ABC News clip, Virginia Giuffre, she testified during a closed deposition that Jeffrey Epstein Bill Clinton visited Epstein's private Caribbean island, Little St. James, accompanied by Ghislaine Maxwell, herself, and 2 young girls from New York. She said this in testimony behind closed doors. She mentioned that Clinton stayed in Epstein's private residence on the island where, according to Virginia Giuffre, and I quote, orgies were a constant thing that took place. Giuffre expressed surprise at seeing Clinton on the island and recalled asking Epstein about it. Epstein allegedly laughed and said to Virginia Giuffre, well, he owes me a favor, although he did not elaborate on the nature of the favor. She also noted that Clinton traveled on Epstein's private plane and mentioned that other notable celebrities, including Vice President Al Gore, the guy that, wants to fight climate change, but then is on the Lolita Express, the trafficking underage girls. So he's so worried about climate, but child molestation, not a big deal to
and the footprint of the jet that he's flying on.
One thing just to highlight that there is a distinction to be made between having been on the Lolita Express for domestic flights versus being on Epstein's island. And so a lot of people say, Trump's name is on the list as well. And people flew on that because it went from New York to Miami. Going to the island is an entirely different thing. And Clinton, it being confirmed, was allegedly on the island. And from what I do recall, flew without Secret Service detail, which is a wildly, if true, suspicious to say the least.
Suspicious and breaks protocol because you don't want them to see what you're doing.
Well, no crap. And apparently people did see things that they didn't like and then stopped being Secret Service on flights. But just to make that distinction, so people don't say being on the Lolita Express could have been domestic, but going to that island, something else.
And if you could, Kelly, you brought up our future president, past president, and president-elect, 47, Donald Trump. Here Trump is talking about Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton and their relationship.
You really think that Clintons are involved with Jeffrey Epstein's death? I have no idea. I know he was on his plane 27 times, and he said he was on the plane 4 times. But when they checked the plane log, Bill Clinton, who was a very good friend of Epstein, he was on the plane about 27 or 28 times. So why did he say 4 times? And then the question you have to ask is, did Bill Clinton go to the island? Because Epstein had an island that was not a good place, as I understand it, and I was never there. So you have to ask, did Bill Clinton go to the island? That's the question. If you find that out, you're going to know a lot. Thank you very much.
And somebody did ask Bill Clinton about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Here's that clip.
Oh, wow.
Any comments on the alleged allegation of your connection with Jeffrey Epstein?
No. Look at that. Look at that look.
What did he say?
I don't know.
That was like the Joe Biden look.
No, he said, I think the evidence is there.
Oh, that what he said?
Well, it's there.
Yeah, go back and look at the guy's face. Look at his handler. Look at his handler's face. Go back, Kelly. Go back to the beginning. Look at the handler's face.
Look at that. Look at that.
They're grabbing. Yeah, I think the evidence is there.
Or I don't think the evidence is there.
Are you going to show a picture of the infamous back massage?
Well, there is that, but I have some more. So let's go to the article that originally started this story. The book coming out. Bill Clinton denies visiting Epstein's private island in the memoir, says he wishes that he never knew Jeffrey Epstein. In the book, Bill Clinton mentions only 2 private meetings that he had with Epstein ever. So he says he only met with Epstein twice. The first time was at Epstein's Upper East Side townhouse, and the second was at the Global Initiative offices, the Clinton Global Initiative offices in Harlem. However, Kelly, could you pull up these 2 photos that we have next? So he says he only met Jeffrey Epstein twice, one at the Upper East Side townhouse, the other at the Clinton Global Initiative's offices in Harlem. However, this photo from 1993 shows Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell at the White House. And if you go to the next photo, there's another photo of them. Same same meeting, more than likely. But we also had Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, on the PBD podcast. If you have not watched that episode, go and check it out. But during that episode, Mark Epstein talks about meeting Bill Clinton on Jeffrey Epstein's jet and also going to the White House, he says, independently of his brother. But so you're sitting here and you're writing this book and you're saying that I was never on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Yes, I met him twice, but it was only 2 times. But yet there's photographic evidence that proves that it's been more than 2 times. So if he's lying about the amount of times that he has met with Jeffrey Epstein, is it that much of a leap to say that he is also lying about being to the island?
Oh,
trying to find out how many times did Epstein log into visiting the White House? Because
I'm happy you just brought that up. So guess what? Remember the death of Mark Middleton, 59 years old, served as Clinton's White House in the 1990s, was found dead. Remember, he's the guy
hung from a tree, shot himself with a shotgun.
Shotgun in the chest, and the shotgun was later discovered. I think I sent it to you by airdrop.
Ruled a suicide. You gotta get the punchline for that.
I'm not laughing at his death, but dude, that's so. Yeah, it was a suicide. He apparently, Middleton notably signed late pedophile Epstein into the White House 7 of the 17 times he visited the rest.
17 times.
Jeffrey Epstein visited the White House at least 17 times during Bill Clinton's presidency between 1993 and 1995. These visits were documented in White House visitor logs indicating Epstein's presence at various events and meetings during that period. So you're writing a book, and the whole basis for the book is your life outside of office, and you're sitting here claiming that I never had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein that existed beyond these 2 personal meetings, but there's 17 documented meetings at the White House that we know about, 2 photographs that prove that those meetings, at least one of those meetings took place of the 17. It's all bullshit.
100%.
You gotta bring this up.
Yeah. And here's my question, Ryan. So going back to this, because people leak stuff all the time. There's perverted people. There's on the dark web, just out there in the world. Is there anything from that island, any footage? Because I'm pretty sure it's like somebody has that footage, and who knows who's working somewhere that's putting it out there to show people. Is there any way that'd be accessible? That's if it's out there.
If it's out there, I haven't personally seen it. Like I haven't seen access to it. I haven't seen clips of it. I don't know. I feel like I would know by now. I know that there was some journalist, I don't remember his name, but he had the black book and everything, and her Ghislaine Maxwell's black book as well. Both or one. I'm not sure. You gotta have to fact check that one. But I don't know. I really don't. I wish that I did.
But God, what were you saying about that?
Who ended up buying? I think we reported on it that it was for sale.
Okay, so Ghislaine Maxwell's Little Black Book. This is all thanks to you by vtnews.ai. So go and check. I mean, you can read other things, but this is on there. Ghislaine Maxwell's Little Black Book, a contact list containing names and addresses of nearly 2,000 individuals, was obtained by British journalist Sharon Churcher in 2011. Churcher received the book from Alfredo Rodriguez, Epstein's former butler, who attempted to sell it for $50,000. Rodriguez, this is funny, Rodriguez was arrested and sentenced to 18 months in prison for obstruction of justice for stealing the Black Book and then selling it or attempting to sell it. So this guy who stole the Black Book that contains the information of people who do crimes against children, he actually faced more consequences than any of the people inside of the Black Book that he stole. That is nuts to me. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
We're gonna
wild.
Absolutely
Absolutely
from
wild.
him.
Yeah, it boggles my mind because I'm going back, Ryan. I'm going all the way back to the institutions that are supposed to be going after these people. So it's clear that the Department of Justice, okay, besides the local, judges and law enforcement and everybody, this goes all the way to the top because the FBI, the DOJ, everybody should be involved. This should be the number one thing. And the fact that they're obviously protecting these people. Mind you, if you're Trump and it's lawfare and it's Republicans and you're trying to stop all this shit, they're going after you. But if you're literally sex trafficking and abusing children, they put one in jail. The other guy hangs himself. His brother doesn't even believe, right? Epstein's brother.
What's crazy is he showed us photos that have never been
This is
published.
Epstein's brother.
Epstein's brother,
What's
Doran.
right here.
And the photos, you can see them. They're now on the PBD podcast. So if you want to go look, but you can look at the photographs of his neck, and then you look at the photographs of the autopsy, and there's no ligature marks. There's nothing. It looks like 2 separate different people. Everything about Jeffrey Epstein's life and death are questionable. But what is not questionable is Bill Clinton's relationship with him, and that needs to be investigated.
And let me ask you one question before we go to Humberto's game. Do you guys think, Ryan? Just 'cause I know you're not into this. I mean, you're into the world of their actions, but I don't think you're in. Like, if you had to guess, do you think that because the island is obviously done, it's finished, they all know.
Yeah.
Is there another place that these people are doing? Because I mean, if you just look at the web, the dark web alone, Ryan, there's countless. How many hundreds of thousands of these disgusting
Horrible websites, yes.
Maybe more, right?
Yeah.
Is there another Epstein Island gathering somewhere else that they close shop and they just pick up somewhere else?
Well, I mean, I'm almost positive of it. I don't know for sure, but I'll give you a good example. So
Okay.
this is something I wanted to bring up earlier anyway. You know, you don't hear, like I said earlier, you don't hear about human trafficking on the news. You don't hear about it. You know, it's not a popular topic in the major media. But do you think that major airports where you're looking in every corner, there is a trafficking sign? There's one in the bathroom, literally next to your urinal. There's at every sports stadium. There's trafficking signs all over these major places where people are transporting. And do you think that every 10 minutes they wouldn't be coming on the intercom saying, you know, if you see such strange behavior or what, you know, blah, 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 report it? Do you think that they would be wasting that advertiser money for human trafficking advertisements if it wasn't a serious problem? So just to, you know, I know that it's not exactly the question that you asked, but I wanted to make it just apparent to the people out there that don't think that this is real, that think that this is just some conspiracy that, you know, that the kids get taken, you know, whether domestically or internationally, they get taken. And the United States being the #1 consumer of, you know, abuse material, you would think, you know, how many of our kids in this country are being taken, you know, taken away outside of the country and kept here. I mean, I don't even know how to word it in a way where we could talk about it on YouTube, but it's
I had Zach Apotheker, the border agent, in James O'Keefe's new documentary, and he was talking about 330,000 trafficked children coming across the border. And like you know, to the extent I didn't know that the U.S. is the #1 consumer, but you look at the countries that are the #1 providers, so to speak. I mean, human trafficking, I think, was the #1 export coming out of Ukraine for a substantial number of years prior to the government becoming the most saintliest of governments on earth. And you wonder, and I've wondered internally and out loud, what amount of foreign policy is governed, dictated by blackmail, extortion. And if you have these politicians in your pocket, you get to compel them to do certain things foreign policy-wise. Prince Andrew, by the way, when we were talking about it before, it's not just that he's been taken off duties. He gave that stupid interview where his defense to alleged sexual abuse was, oh, I remember that period very well. I couldn't sweat because of trauma that I experienced in the Falkland Islands. Yeah. And then never speaks about it again.
And then he claimed that
I was at a pizza party.
Knew the specific date of which the girl was accusing him of committing the crimes against her, and he goes, I was at a birthday pizza party in this town. You just happen to you know how many birthday parties I've been to for my children? You could, if you were to grab my son and hold a gun to his head and go, where were you on July 19th? There's no way I'd go, I was at a Chuck E. Cheese in Linton. Wrong. There's no way I'd ever come up with that information. It's just such bull crap. And then we buy it. And you know what? I wonder, guys, what's worse? Is it worse that they investigate Bill for the American public? Is it worse that they investigate Bill Clinton, they find out that he actually has ties to Jeffrey Epstein, and they prosecute him, or they let this rumor continue to linger forever, where there's no investigation, there's no prosecution, and we're always going to wonder if Bill Clinton is a pedophile? Which is worse, convicting him or letting him get off scot-free?
I think I'm about accountability. I want if it's true, I want him to pay his freaking his price. I want him to go to prison. By the way, it will never ever happen, and we talked about this. Anything that has to do with children, bro, anything with younger, underage people, you have to pay the piper. I don't give a damn. I want convictions. That's why I'm hoping to God that Trump does it, because he said he's going to do it. Besides the JFK files, he said he's going to go do the Epstein list, because and now who's going to be in charge of the Department of Justice, FBI?
Matt Gaetz.
Well, yeah, Matt Gaetz is AG.
Let me explain something.
You'll have I don't know if Kash Patel has been announced yet, but you'll have a team that will go into it. One thing's for certain: if Trump's name was on it, it would have been leaked already.
1,000%.
Unless you want to go with the 5-dimensional chess, like if they can't they can't expose Trump without exposing themselves. I don't believe that, but do it.
So if you like this clip, click right here, and if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.